which is visitors. Do we have any visitors present who would like to give testimony to the board? Seeing none. Move on to item 6, our presentations for tonight. To Ann and Lisa.
So what we're going to do this evening is we have guests that are here, and half of them have already left. So the ones who have stayed, I'm going to ask them to come in first, and then we'll go through this short presentation next. So what we're bringing in, or who we're bringing in, are students from the medical assisting program and the medical coding program. And tonight's presentation is about the adult career development that we offer here at the Northwest Technical Center. And it's a relatively small part in looking at how large our district is, but it's a very important part. And it's so important that it's part of a recent H919 bill that has been passed for workforce development. So we are now considered Vermont's preferred training provider. So all of the adult career and technical education training centers, there's 17 of them in the state. We are now considered Vermont's preferred training provider over VTC, over UVM. So this is pretty phenomenal. And the H919 bill outlines that very clearly. So we're going to give you some highlights, but I think what's really important is the testimony from the students. Now, the ones who did leave, I do want to highlight, there are 3 high school students who came here. School's out, and they came here tonight. So there are 2 that graduated, one from medical professions, and then she took phlebotomy as well. So she's a certified phlebotomist, and she's going to UVM for nursing. And then another one just graduated from the Human Services Department, and she took LNA on Tuesday and Thursday nights. So now she's a licensed nurse assistant and now working at a local nursing home and then going to college part-time. And then we have the 3rd student who left who's going to be a senior in the Human Services program here during the day, but is also registering for the medical assisting program. It's a 10-month rigorous program that ends with certification.
And that's done at night?
It's done at night. So, speaking of these wonderful programs, so ladies, if you could come up here and I'll introduce you. You may have seen them in some type of medical setting, but it's confidentiality, HIPAA. Watch these cords.
Yes.
So I want to introduce to you 2 very powerful, wonderful women. So this is Linda Bessery, who works at the Northwestern Medical Center, and then Lynn Goodrich, who works at the UVM Medical Center. So they are both nurses, and Lynn is the medical assisting instructor. And then Linda Bessery is my everything. She's the clinical coordinator primarily, and also did a long-term substitute position here. An LNA instructor. So I'll just have you briefly talk a little bit more about why you're doing what you're doing, and go from there.
All right. Again, my name is Lynn Goodrich. I teach the clinical medical assisting course. It is a 9-month course, and part of that course, for a few months, they're in phlebotomy. And what I teach them in this course is really anything pertaining to working in a primary care office or even a specialty office, if that's where they choose. But mostly I focus it on a primary care setting, so that they would be, vitals would be hugely important. We do vitals a lot, and collecting urine samples, hemocult samples, and doing EKGs, all kinds of the things that you may see when you see somebody in a primary care office. This is probably who you're going to come in contact with. They'll update people's charts, go over why they're there in the office, and sometimes their job may intertwine with being, working in the office a little bit too, or scheduling appointments, that kind of thing. In our class, they are required to do 40 hours of clinical time, and Linda is where this comes into play. Linda has real great connections in this county for setting up clinical time. So Linda and I work very closely together in getting the students the times that they need to achieve that 40 hours of clinical time.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Linda. So just a little bit of background. I was at UVM Medical Center for 34 years. I worked in a lot of different departments there. That's one of the wonderful things about medicine. You can keep the same job but do something different and really expand on that. I used to come up here to Northwestern with cardiology when we were in outreach department, and when Northwestern wanted to have full-time cardiology, I was fortunate enough to come up here. I was coming back to a small community hospital, which I absolutely loved, but got to work with the same providers that I had been working with for a few years. So that was really great. And then I kind of moved over to OBGYN because I had a background in labor and delivery. So I was able to kind of put all of that together, and I started looking for other things to do. I absolutely love teaching. Part of my job at the hospital is I do a lot of surgical scheduling in our office, and I get to do all the patient education. So I was able to put that together here at the Tech Center. I started out working with the LNA students and taking them to Northwestern Medical Center for their clinicals, and then we did some long-term care clinicals, rehab clinicals. So that was really great. And then Lisa talked to me about, because I just like to try new things, they were looking for a coordinator for the MA and the phlebotomy programs. So I worked with Lynn and then Kelly Ross from the phlebotomy program, and I do reach out and I get clinical set up. So the MA students will go to Northwestern Medical Center. I was able to collaborate with Michelle in patient education. We do all of our clinicals there. Prior to this, we've done a few at the Notch. But it's just amazing to see the students and what they can learn and just watch them grow. So they have their clinicals. We have the phlebotomy clinicals that are at UVM. They are at CDPH. We go to the Notch, Northwestern Medical Center, and we will be in the fall going back to Copley. So that's a really great outreach for our students there. What else do we do? And then you mentioned one of the most amazing things I've gotten to do was when I got to work with the high school students in the medical professions program. As Lisa was saying, I did some long-term subbing at the beginning of their junior year. So I got to have those students at the beginning of their 2 years of the medical professions program, but I'm also their clinical instructor for the end of the program when they get their LNA. So it was just amazing for me just to see how much they had grown over the 2 years and everything that they had learned. A lot of the students, there were a couple that couldn't be here tonight, and one of the students emailed me, and she said she's taken both the LNA and the MA program. She's a single mom, and she said the thing that she got out of this program was the confidence to go back to school. So she's finished her LNA, she's finished her MA, and she's going on to nursing school now. So I think that's really amazing, just to see the growth of everybody and the opportunity that everyone has here.
Thank you very much.
Anybody have any questions?
No, but it's wonderful to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, they do amazing work. And speaking of doing amazing work, we have one more class that's here tonight. Look at all these medical coding students. So, and I want to introduce to you Samantha Prince. And Samantha also works at UVM. And this is an 18-week program now, right? Do we change one? Oh, we doubled it? Yeah. Yeah. It's long. That's all I know.
Yes.
And so Samantha, if you could just tell them a little bit about medical coding in a nutshell. And then we have Sarah here, who actually went through our LNA program, our phlebotomy program, and now doing medical coding, and her daughter also went.
All right, so medical coding, I have all kinds of students. I have them go through A&P and medical terminology first, because medical code is kind of a complicated thing. I don't know how many of you know what that is, but basically it's taking a doctor or a physician's note or any kind of practitioner and turning that note into numbers to go to the insurance company to be paid. So it sounds super easy when I say it like that, but you have to know exactly what the doctor is talking about and know about the procedure, how it's done, the approach, how you're going into the body. And again, it's a learning curve. And it's one of those things that once you learn it, either, I hate to say it this way, but either you love it or you hate it. So it's one of those things that you get into and you really get into it, or you're like, not for me, maybe I'll go into like the health professions instead. I do have quite a few students that come to me from other parts of the healthcare world. So they either come to me as past dental assistants, they come to me as nurses. And coding can be one of those things that you take your nursing degree and you combine it with the coding. Not only do you get a really nice bump in pay, but you're no longer dealing with patients. So if you're an injured nurse and you can't work directly with patients anymore, coding is a great thing to get into. So 2 of my current students are actually nurses. I've had many nurses in the past. I've had past medical dental assistants, things like that. And they take that and they either code charts all day. So coding isn't just coding charts all day either. You can turn in, do many, many different things with it. So I actually no longer work at UVM. I work now for Vermont Medicaid. So we can go and work for insurance companies. We can work on our own doing auditing. The world is huge. You can take it and you can work, your typical hospital job, or you can take it and work for yourself and make 6 figures. So you can really take it any direction you want to take it.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So my name is Sarah Carson. Like Lisa said, my daughter attended high school here. She is now a junior in college. And with 2, I also have an older child. 2 kids in college. I myself can't afford to go to college for me. So being able to attend here adult education through the technical school makes it affordable for me to move on in my field of choice in the medical field. So I started out as an LNA. I then continued and took the phlebotomy course, and I'm now a certified phlebotomy tech. Having those 2 courses under my belt, I was able to sit for the certified medical assistant course. So I'm also a certified medical assistant, not the course, the test, I'm sorry. I'm also a certified medical assistant, and I work at Northwestern Medical Center as a medical assistant in dermatology, where I scribe for the doctor all day. And I pull in her diagnosis codes and help her with, pulling in her medical procedures and her CPT coding and that kind of stuff. So that's how I got into wanting to build coding. So now sitting in with this and working with Sam weekly, it's helping me to understand how to connect all the dots and where things come through. And just having this program here is amazing to make it affordable for people to be able to move on and get the education that they may not be able to otherwise.
And like I said, a lot of students will come in and they'll be in one job and they say, I want to advance, but I need those skills to get to the next level. Mm-hmm. So I actually have one of Sarah's coworkers that went through my course, and she decided, okay, I want to move in, and she did part-time still in the department that she's in, and then she did part-time coding. So it's one of those pathways to get you into the next level. Or you, like I said, you can take it to do many other things with it. Code charts all day, or go in and be a pre-cert associate, or work for an insurance company. You can work in coordination of benefits. There's all these different parts of it that you can take it and do things with.
That's a pretty good job market. Sounds like there's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, actually, 3 or 4 of my past students have actually accepted jobs coding actual coding charts while still in my course. So they actually hadn't sat for the certification exam or anything yet. Although they would. One of the requirements is usually if you take that kind of position, you have to pass the exam within 2 years. But there is a certification for each kind of coding. So the one that I teach here is for physician coding, but they can also go and teach, or can teach for outpatient. So they can also work for a facility. So I don't know if you guys know much about billing, but usually we get EOB in the mail, so an explanation of benefits. You'll go to bill for the doctor, and you'll go to bill for the hospital. So they can either... Yes. So they will learn how to code for the physician, but they can, again, take it for the hospital, or they can go work for an anesthesiologist and do just anesthesiologist. There's so many different specialties. They can work for a general surgeon. They can work for ophthalmology. All these different things. And within coding, it's not just you learn, you become a coder, and that's it. You can earn more certifications as you go and pick up different specialties as you go. So you can work in obstetrics. You can work, like I said, general surgery. You can just keep going. So it's not just you learn it and you get bored, and medical stuff changes all the time. So they're always learning something else and building their skills and moving on with it. It's a great, interesting profession. I could talk about it all day. Do you guys have any questions for us?
No,
Thank you for coming.
But the healthcare field is really a really good one.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So much flexibility, and you did talk about that.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, and we definitely have people that move in and out of actual coding positions, and they decide, oh, I want to try this specialty, and it doesn't work out for me. It's not quite what I was expecting. Cardiology, we all learned is really hard.
Yeah.
So maybe cardiology isn't for you. You try it out for 6 months, and you decide, not my thing. You can go in and work for a PD office. So you can do anything with it.
It's going to be my encore career. Seriously, I'm not joking. I'm going to learn how to go someday and work from home.
It's actually a lot of
Big
people's
bucks.
second career. So I happened to start out as my first because I learned about it through a tech school. I didn't go to this tech school because I'm not from here, but I did start out in a tech program, just like this one. And then I kind of kept going. I went on to get my associates, then my bachelor's. I'm going to be working on my master's in health law and policy. So I've kind of taken it from here and taken it here. So that's what I'm giving the course and all the students the skills to go from here to here, and in a very short amount of time.
If I could, are you relying on charts or transcribed notes? Are those easily legible, or is that ever an issue? Or
Yeah, so what Sarah does with the scribing for the physician, she's actually typing up what the physician is saying.
so you're listening, I assume,
Yes.
Yes.
if that brings up the, can you hear what they're saying sometimes? Are they eating lunch while they're
You're doing it in real
transcribing?
time.
I am doing it in
Real
real
time.
time. I am actually in the
Oh,
room
okay.
with the physician. She's behind me with the patient, doing her exam the whole time. I am just pulling in diagnosis codes, procedures, typing. I'm doing it all right there.
Yeah.
Very good,
So,
impressive.
yeah.
Thanks for waiting to present. Everyone, yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So it's really wonderful to see what the opportunities are here right in our region. So I just have a couple slides to show you, and those of you on the board, you have them right in front of you, and then we have it up here. So you've probably read this 100 times, so we'll move on. And I just wanted to highlight again is that we are the preferred training provider in Vermont, and we collaborate with a lot of state agencies and business partners. And we're really working statewide to leverage our capacity based on the economies of scale that we already have in place with our 17 regional technical centers. In terms of the partnering piece at H919, it's just phenomenal. We have the governor who's behind workforce development, and CTE is at the front of it. And the goal is, just like you hear at the high school level, is to acquire stackable credentials. You just heard Samantha talk about stacking credentials in medical coding. So it happens in all careers. Just to give you a visual, we are a part of a statewide association, and our website clearly shows the 17 locations. I just wanted to put this in here, and we're not going to read it, but I wanted to show you where we are couched within the statute. So, and it clearly states how adult education is couched within technical education. And sometimes it's hard for people to understand that. Where does this come in? How did this happen? Where does it stand? So this statute clearly identifies our position. The other piece I wanted to share with you, it's very important to understand the funding. Funding is always a topic. So we have two different funding streams, and it's really important for you to understand the obstacles that we're encountering. So we have our high school technical education, that's the programs that we have here during the daytime. And then we have our adult technical education. You just saw these students that came in. So if you are a high school student and you would like to you want to take a college course in medical terminology, or you want to take an English course, you go and you cash in your dual enrollment voucher. We all know that. You have two if you're in the regular high school. Cash it in. That funding funding comes through Act 77. If you are a high school student who wants to take an LNA or a medical assisting or welding, you have no funding because it is not covered under Act 77. We are working really hard to try to change that language. We've been working hard in the last 3 years to really push that. We need a couple more years to tilt it over the edge. But right now, there is no funding for our high school students to challenge themselves beyond dual enrollment and beyond AP classes.
Is there funding for adults without a diploma to attend high school tech ed
Yes,
programs?
yes.
That's not what they were talking about though?
No. Because adult technical education is not ABE, it's not adult basic education. So everybody that we see, they already have a high school diploma, they may already have a college degree, they're looking for a second career. So, but students who work through VAL, Vermont Adult Learning, they have funding to come and take our courses.
Didn't there used to be language that allowed an adult with a high school diploma to attend a tech center and pay, you couldn't charge them any more than
It's like
20% or
40% of a
40%.
certain
Right.
FTE, yes.
so you don't have any of those?
No.
students?
We rarely have adult students, and then students without a diploma, like you said, could participate in our daytime programming, but it just doesn't happen.
It doesn't, no. So here we are, last year we served 25 high school students in the adult technical education programming world. So how did we find funding for them? Well, we found funding through Perkins and through the Department of Labor grant. So our technical center, out of the 17, we have used that Department of Labor grant to help offset some of the tuition that these students have to still pay. Other tech centers around the state do not use their money for that. They actually have to use their Department of Labor grant money to help offset the expense of the assistant director's salary. So the funding is definitely a difficult obstacle. For the high school students, adult students, the funding is you either pay your own way. Medical assisting is $2,200. Or an employer pays. You can go through VSAC. You can go through WIOA, which is a federal grant, and we don't receive many people who are funded through WIOA. And Voc Rehab. We have a lot of people who are funded through Voc. So I just wanted to show you that funding stream and where it's coming from and a couple of the obstacles. Any questions on that? Here's by the numbers. This is just our technical center. We served 312 adults in 2017. And in terms of industry recognized credentials, 140 were granted. Because not all of the programs or courses that we deliver carry a credential. Maybe they all get certificates of completion. So it ranges in the different sectors. We serve 32 people in agriculture and food. As you can see, health sciences, and you had all the health-related people here, 165. Professional training includes educational training. That's an area that we really want to focus on because we have a lot of experts here within our district and in districts around us. So why can't we deliver more educational training here, more professional development here? They don't have to leave the region. They can come here and receive the training. Like we have life space crisis intervention. We have para-educator training. I just wanted to show you something in terms if you needed to ever navigate. Remember I showed you that map where I had the 17 stars on the state? That's our statewide association, and this is our statewide website. And it's a very simple URL to remember. It's btadultcte, btadultcte.org. And this is where we are getting a lot of traffic because if you're sitting at Department of Labor, you're sitting at Voc Rehab, you're sitting at VSAC, or you're just searching for welding, you are going to bubble up to the top. And when you come here, you can go to locations, or you can even go and look at a list of classes. So this is, like I said, a great resource for people doing job search or training. And I just wanted to show you what it looks like when you come here. They're like, oh, Northwest Technical Center, I live in Franklin County. And then it gives you a list of our courses that's offered. So it's a pretty dynamic website. So that's it. Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for your support with this program, and we're looking to grow it. Hopefully we'll have double the amount in a couple of years. Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. And we apologize for such a late start.
No, that's fine.
Okay, that moves us to item 7, which is the consent agenda. The only thing in the consent agenda are the minutes from 6 June. Any reason to pull those minutes out of the consent agenda to discuss? Okay, in that case, if there's no objections, consent agenda will be adopted. Are there any objections? The consent agenda is adopted. Item 8, old business, policy updates. Policies have been revised to include marijuana, have been posted for feedback, and warned for approval at this meeting. Anything we need to add?
We did get some comments about vaping and whether it would be included in the first policy is for our adult employees. The second policy is alcohol, marijuana, and drugs. That's a student policy. And there was some concern that drugs could be included in a vaping carrier. And
Depends what you're vaping, right?
depends on what you're vaping. And there was some discussion back and forth about is that covered by the term inhalants? But the marijuana piece is in there.
So is there any conflict with CDB, hemp oil products that are sold over the counter? No, they don't have the THC in them, but they are a byproduct of the same plant. I don't know if there's a law preventing children or children from having those. They're usually liquids or something, and I don't know.
If those are covered by federal law,
if they're covered by federal law,
they still would
you
not
walk
be.
into a store, you can buy them. They may take your license down or something, but it's not. It's the same as buying Benadryl.
You can buy it now in Vermont prior to July 1st, right?
This is not the actual THC marijuana.
Right.
Yeah, you can buy it now.
On Main Street. In Vermont.
No, I went to.
So it's illegal.
So is that something that is going to be a problem in school, or is that included? How do you address that? I mean, I don't even know what the effects of this medication is, but it's.
What's the age limit?
I don't know. I think it's 18, but I'm not sure. But it is derived of hemp oil. And,
Mr. Chair, is there a motion on the floor?
no.
No, we don't.
Are we doing 1 and 2, A1 and A2?
Yes.
They both had the word marijuana added to them.
Yeah, thank you, Al. I'd look for a motion then to adopt these policies, B03 and C02.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jack.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Further discussion?
I don't know if that has to be looked at. And I don't know if that's something that would be considered a violation of policy or
Is that going to be any different than it is right now? Whatever it is you're talking about?
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear what it was either, but I mean, our immediate concern for this was about dealing with the legalization of marijuana.
Yeah,
So-
well, you get marijuana products that are sold over the counter, just like cigarettes, just like,
But are they sold now?
yes.
So
But didn't
wouldn't
we,
it fall under the terminologies that's already in this?
I'm asking for clarification.
Or are we going to
Because-
need to?
Because you have the word,
every-
you have the word marijuana here. Does that imply all marijuana products?
didn't we acknowledge last time, though, that we were doing a quick fix?
Yes.
In order to be in position for the law, and that this probably would require some modification.
Yeah, I think Mike makes a valid point, but I think it's something that we look at when we This was just a quick stopgap.
Okay.
And that when we,
But the VSBA is looking at this summer, and we
Yeah.
are expecting to have a recommended policy before school starts. We are hoping for that.
Yep.
And we will keep very vigilant about and see. It does say that any other controlled substance as defined by state or federal statute or regulation. So we have the basic coverage, including marijuana for a stopgap measure.
And Pietro, got to review these? Or no?
He's part of the group that looks at them for VSBA.
okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Approved 8-0.
Did you hear from Al?
I didn't hear him.
Are you there, Al?
Yeah, I did. I said,
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
no exception. I have the information of this.
All right. All right, that brings us to item 8B, the continuous improvement plan.
We're going to skip over this today. Jill's not here, she's going to give the presentation. We'd like to be well prepared to talk about it, so we'll get next month.
7/18.
On the motion table, or is it necessary?
I don't think so.
It's not actionable.
Curriculum update?
So I have provided for you a curriculum update that was compiled by all the principals and several assistant principals throughout the district. Just to sort of update you as to the continued work that we are doing as a district on curriculum, even in the absence of sort of someone who officially holds the title of curriculum director, which I do, but have been otherwise occupied this year. A lot of work has still been going on throughout the district. It is focused on our continuous improvement plan, so that has 4 areas. Area number 1 is math improvement. Number 2 is English and language arts improvement. Number 3 is social emotional growth. And number 4 is teacher professional learning. So everything was sort of focused around that, and through the document you can see everyone has contributed sort of an update of where we've been moving as a district. So I'm going to assume that you have read this and not dredge out in agonizing detail anything here. However, if there are any questions that you've had as you read this, I'd be happy to address them for you. Sally.
My question would be that it was very easy for me to understand everything about that's been going on at BFA because we had a curriculum committee and I was on that board a long time. I could understand nothing about what was going on in the elementary schools. And when the new curriculum director comes, I would love to be able to have access to some more user-friendly information. You know, there's a lot of gobbledygook, a lot of technical terms about vertical learning, and I know what vertical learning is, but I, it would be really nice to see some concrete examples too of what kids are doing. It's very technical language, and that I didn't find very helpful to me.
I apologize for that.
That's
we
not your
definitely
fault.
wrote it
I just don't know anything
Yeah.
about elementary curriculum. And
Was
I'd
there
like to
anything
learn.
that I can clarify for you specifically that would be helpful?
Not now. I would just love to have access to something to read, at some point.
So, yeah, in terms of a written document, this is probably as close as we're going to get anytime soon. I can't imagine that Mona is probably going to delve into describing everything students are learning at any time in the near future. She's going to be studying that herself, but I can't imagine a written report coming about. For certain, I could meet with you anytime you wanted to help you understand what's going on in the elementary schools. For example, words like conscious discipline may not mean anything to you, but to all of us in the elementary schools, we know exactly what conscious discipline is, and we've been talking about it with the board for a year as well. As a new member on this particular board, if there's any of that you would like clarification on, I'm happy to help you all summer long, anytime. Same with you, Sue, as a new member. Jeff, you've been kind of listening in for the year, so if there's anything any of you need, please come and see me, email me, call me, and when Mona gets here, I'm going to be training her, so I'll be helping her get into some of those details as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Were there any questions about anything specifically in the document that either seemed unclear or didn't Yeah, Tim Duncan.
How do you measure your progress?
How do you measure progress? I'm gonna get you for that one. So there are a lot of different ways that you can measure progress, and it just depends on which measure. So for example, on math, if we're looking at our math performance, we're going to be measuring progress primarily with our SBAC scores, but also in the younger grades, K through 2, we can use the primary number and operations assessment that we have. And that is an assessment where we keep the results of it in our Alpine database. So we're able to track progress to see how kids are growing over time. With specific interventions, it's a little bit harder unless you're doing a study. So let's say we were talking about Math Studio and the work that we're doing. One of the things that would be helpful would be to look at a Math Studio teacher to see if their students have had greater growth than a non-Math Studio teacher. Now again, that is sort of the technical details that Mona will get into as she's kind of looking at the effectiveness of what we do. That's also a required part of our consolidated federal grant program. We have to show not only that we're doing something, but that what we are doing is actually working. So in literacy, we do intervention in literacy through a program called LLI, Leveled Literacy Intervention. And we can look at our students' growth in their reading scores over time to see if we are closing gaps for students that were below level. In social emotional, that's a little bit harder, but I feel like the state is going to be helping us out with that. They're requiring a climate survey throughout the state in schools starting in a couple of years, maybe even next year. The way the AOE rolls things out, it could be tomorrow. But there are these climate surveys that will be coming, and you can always look at climate surveys to see the results of social emotional learning that we're working on. In social studies, I think, we started last year with a vertical team of social studies teachers, and that basically means teachers who teach in the elementary school and the high school who all teach social studies. And one of the concrete things that we'll see coming out of social studies is perhaps a curriculum framework that is based on the new set of standards that the state has put out, or actually nationwide. Same thing in the arts that Kevin's working on. You'll see a curriculum that's being developed. And the results of that curriculum development will be hard to track, but over a period of several years, what you should see is that the teachers receiving kids in the high school from our partner schools, from our elementary schools, will be saying things like, they're coming with a whole lot more skills that they didn't have, or they're counting rhythm the same way we count rhythm in the high school. And that's the kind of thing, it's a little bit less concrete number-wise, but that helps give us some indication of whether the work that we're doing is having an effect. So it's a lot of different ways. It's not as easy a question as it sounds, because it really depends on the indicator. They have a lot of indicators in early childhood. You might have noticed Michelle put charts in there. Michelle loves her graphs and her teapots and her TS golds and all those things that are, provide data.
So I want to write too now.
Yeah.
Just really quickly, years ago when I first came on the board, I was able to borrow a document that showed what the expectations were. I'm particularly interested in writing skills and reading skills, and so I had the ability to borrow this document. I've forgotten who was doing curriculum at the time, and it showed what the expectations were specifically for different levels for kids and within certain grades. And I would love to see something like that. I'd also love to see, I've always loved to see student writings.
So we started a writing assessment this year, a common local assessment that Joan Cavallo was working on with a group of our literacy educators from across the district. We did was an opinion piece. I believe we did an opinion piece. That was the first writing sample that we did as a district. Over the summer, they're going to be working on creating the prompts for the other types of writing. So what we're going to have is the ability to track student writing growth across 3 different types of writing across all of their years in our schools. So that's going to be exciting data for us to have. It'll take a couple of years for us to get that. Now what you're referring to is probably the grade level expectations, which were the way Vermont used to do our learning standards. But those are all gone now. They don't exist anymore. What we have now is the Common Core Standards. So what you can do to see the information that you're looking for is on corestandards.org. You can get a full list of the Common Core Standards, and that's where you can actually track what the growth is over the years. And there are some documents on our Maple Run curriculum site that I loaded that show progressions through the years, and I can, if you want to sit with me sometime, I can print some of those out for you or show you where they are so that you can kind of get an idea of what we're doing. It's not necessarily clear-cut across the district yet in terms of having this is the curriculum in math, and it's the Common Core standards
I
that
don't
kind
care
of
so
guide
much
us.
about math.
In
I'm
English.
not a math person.
You're not that person.
Okay, I'm the math person. So
You're the math person, so you can go to coursestandards.org, click on math.
What are the progressions? You said they track the progressions. Progressions of what?
So, for example, let's say that I'm a third grade teacher and I'm going to go to math because it's easier to talk about. And I'm going to be teaching multiplication. So I can look at, in terms of progression, what did second graders learn that's going to help them as they move into multiplication? So, and then what do fourth graders need to know about multiplication so that they can move into division? So the progression helps a teacher to see where students are coming from and where they need to be and what the focus is going to be this year. In terms of parents, it just kind of helps you see what kids are going to be learning throughout the years, kindergarten 1, 2, 3. And, it's pretty standard. There are certain things that you learn developmentally based on the age. Those things don't really change very much. What changes, I think what's different about the Common Core is that they were much more focused on how kids think and how kids experience the learning than necessarily just about here's the skill that they need. So it's not just they need to know how to multiply, it's they need to know how to multiply, and also they need to know what multiplication really is at sort of a deeper level. And that's why you see, strange new grids for multiplication that you never saw before. We learned algorithms. Here's how you do it. You carry the 1, you move on. And now we want them to actually think through their math and understand it at a deeper level. So that's what the Common Core has done for our standards, and I think that's what's made math especially look a little bit different to a lot of parents lately. What is this strange new thing that you're doing? Well, it's just kind of trying to get them to understand it at a deeper level.
Thank you. I'll just get those websites.
Absolutely. Come see me sometime. I know you live up there, so.
Thank you.
Mine was for the other report, but it sort of connects. Getting elementary school teachers who are not required to take a lot of math to get their degree, at least they weren't 20 years ago, getting them more math educated. Because higher ed doesn't seem to be interested in doing it. So what can we do that is going to make these teachers able to present the material in those different manners that you described?
A couple different things. So, for example, in math, what we did this year is we did the Math Studio program at SATEC and Fairfield. And what that is it was a week-long course in the summer to learn about math habits of interaction and habits of mind. So how you think about math and how you describe math. And we all took this course for a week, and then over the course of 8 days throughout the school year, we had a consultant who flew in and worked with a group of teachers who self-selected into this program to learn more about how math works and how to talk about math with kids, how to get kids to describe their thinking. And so that was one thing we did for a select group of teachers, because you can't do that with everybody necessarily. It would be cost prohibitive. So then at City School, they did something very similar to that. They didn't want to do the Math Studio model, but they did something called lesson studies. So they basically focused with the consultant on math lessons to figure out if the highest quality instruction was being delivered for the math lessons. And then they did a course on longitudinal intervention strategies. That's a mouthful that basically means how do you do intervention for kids that need some extra support over a longer period of time to keep them learning. The next thing that we did at SATEC and Fairfield is we adopted a couple of math programs. So what we got from the programs was when you buy a sort of a boxed program, you get professional training that comes with it. So we had a consultant that came in and showed us how to use the program, but within the program, you actually, as a teacher goes into a new lesson, there's a section in there that says, here's what the math is that you're going to be teaching. Here's how that math works. Here's why we teach it this way. And here's why we show them these 5 other ways to do it as well. So that's all available to the teacher before they ever teach a lesson. So that's another thing. Then another way that we do it is in all 3 of the elementary schools, we, through our consolidated federal grant program, we pay for teachers to attend the Vermont Mathematics Institute Math Master's Degree Program. And so at Fairfield next year, I'm going to have two of my teachers going through it. There are 7, I believe, at City School. There are 4 or 5 at Town School. And they're actually getting a master's degree in math. So this is 4 teachers who are elementary teachers.
In mathematics?
Mathematics.
Not math education.
There's a bit. Okay, so the VMI is kind of a nice program because it gives you like calculus, right? You have to take calculus in this program. But then while you're taking calculus, you're learning how to make calculus applicable in a kindergarten classroom. Don't ask me how. Someone told me once, and it made a whole lot of sense when I heard it from her. But I couldn't tell you again how. But that's what it does, is it helps you to become a better teacher, a teacher leader in mathematics in your building. And the research around VMI has shown that teachers who go through the program and teach in a school that has a large number of VMI teachers in it, that the math instruction in that school improves dramatically. So that's kind of a neat thing that we happen to have in our state that not a lot of other places have. And we fund that for our teachers because it is proven to make a difference. It's through UVM right now. I believe they're searching for another partner to move the institute. St. Mike's, something like that. I don't know. We don't know. I think the partnership with UVM is ending, but hopefully the program is going to continue because it's very valuable. One of my teachers who did it this last year said that one of the things that was astonishing to her, she's an early elementary teacher, she said that one day she was in a math class and she was really feeling dumb. She felt like she couldn't understand the math at all. 2 teachers had come and tried to help her with it, and she was like about ready to ball up and cry in a corner because she felt like she was just, stupid. And it all of a sudden kicked a light bulb in her head that her kids probably feel that way at times when they're learning. And so it really changed her perspective on teaching kids to be able to say, okay, I know what this feels like now, I've never felt like a dummy before, and all of a sudden I did. But I could do it. I could succeed if I got the help that I needed, if I just provide that the right way to my kids. So that's an unintended consequence of this program, is it really pushes them out of their comfort zone. I think there was one more thing that I wanted to say about how we help the teacher. So there are a lot of opportunities for professional development, and thank goodness our district pays for professional development for our teachers, and in a quite nice way. Through the Champlain Valley Educator Development Program, CVED, through Castleton, through all kinds of Vermont Higher Education Collaborative, there are all kinds of courses in math that are coming out all the time. Math for Struggling Learners is an especially good one, taught by the guy who actually ran a program at Saks. And so we're always telling our teachers, hey, these opportunities are out here for you as well. And you have to take courses to get recertified in our state as a teacher. It's just kind of one of those things you do. And so people can focus on math in their improvement plans, in their self-improvement plans, and then I'll help find courses for them to be able to take with their professional development funds to support them.
But ultimately, they choose their own classes for.
Ultimately, they choose their own classes unless there happens to be something that I see in a teacher and I say, I really want you to take this class, then I can direct them to take it.
Yeah.
And that's fine too. That's.
So you're just going to steer them that way.
You kind of steer them, yeah. By watching them teach, you know what's going on, and you can say, I would love to see you try more of this. So it really, it's multi-tiered. There's a lot that goes into it.
Well, from just over the years at Fairfield, this is more about getting teachers better equipped to teach math at the lower grades than has ever been done before.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's necessary.
Yeah.
A lot of elementary teachers tend to be people who enjoy reading. That's kind of one of the
well,
big
I
things.
think higher ed does that to them. I think that's part of the problem. They don't have enough requirements in other things other than math and reading.
You go to school for 12 years to be a teacher and you'll never hit everything they need.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Sean. Solar projects.
You guys already heard the preamble a couple weeks ago. So I will be brief because I know that you've been here a long time. And for the record, I'm Mike McCarthy. I'm a solar project consultant with SunCommon. And I am very pleased to report that the update from what you heard last time is that Suncommon is about to ink the deal so that we will have license to the credits from the hydroelectric project that I described. So we have all of the pieces in place now to be able to deliver the 3 options of net metering credits that will accompany and complement the canopy projects. So that go ahead that we got from you to look a little deeper was able to finish those negotiations. Early this morning, I sent Martha and Kevin a draft template that's very similar to the net metering agreements you already have for your solar, but that actually would offer the district up to, if you choose the sort of option 3 as we described it last time, about $25,000 a year in net savings on your utility costs. And with language that's very, very similar to language you've already seen. So I think without stealing Martha's thunder, what we'd be looking for tonight is a sense of which of the 3 options, given that we're able to cover more of the utility costs at a discount, and that the dollar figure, if you choose to get no upfront money with the canopies in the long run, is significantly bigger. If you'd like to forego some of the percentage discount and get either a $50,000 or $100,000 upfront payment prior to the construction of the solar canopies, it has the same financial bearing for Suncommon. So have those 3 options on the table. We found more financial savings because it turns out that you all spend more on electricity than we had originally known, and we can cover more of your bills. So same discount on a bigger number is more savings. Even without the SATEC and VFA meters that are currently being covered by the SATEC solar project, you're still spending upwards of about $280,000 a year across all of the other facilities' bills. And so we're going to take about $234,000 of that, replace it with net metering credits, and do that at a guaranteed discount, similar to what we did with the solar. And then just as a refresher, on the parallel track, that'll allow us to move the canopy projects at City School and Commons Pearly forward under a community ownership model like I described a couple weeks ago. So we have all of the pieces in place. I think both on our end and for the district, we'd like to have the lawyers look at the verbiage and make sure, but I think right now we're basically just getting from, ironing out, dotting I's and crossing T's, and we'd be looking for approval of the concept and which financial option we wanted to choose tonight.
So we're not looking to approve any contract.
You're not looking to actually approve a document. But because we're not having another board meeting until July 18th, that we may be looking for the board to approve or give the authorization to sign documents in the interim so that we're not holding up the project. But that's up to the board to decide.
There's 3 options. Do you have a recommendation that you think would be best?
Well, I mean,
so we need to discuss.
That's what we need to
That's
discuss.
what we
I mean,
need to discuss.
I'm still hung on the contract.
Mhm.
So how can we approve a contract if it's not there?
you would be approving the net metering agreement. It's an agreement.
And then we would approve it at our July meeting?
Pardon?
What if is there a problem with approving the actual contract and inking it at our July meeting?
That would be a question.
It costs us a month of permitting time on the canopies. So we think that we'll be able to have, we were really trying to get all of this done for this board meeting to avoid that. So in lieu of having that done and having the document, I do have a draft template, and what would be the most expeditious thing, because that draft template is very similar to language you've already seen, is that if you authorized the approval of that agreement in concept with whatever recommendations your attorney recommended, that your administrators be able to go ahead and ink the agreement because we're like 99.9% of the way there, and waiting a whole nother month may cost us next summer. That's the risk of waiting, is that it takes so long to permit the canopy projects that if we miss next summer and we don't want to disrupt the school activities at Collins Pearly or at City School, then we have to wait until the summer of 2020 to build.
How do you guys feel about that?
Because right now, this is 2019.
Well, let's decide that.
Yeah, but
How we're gonna deal with the contract
That would be
first.
before the contract. They can walk out of here with instructions and then the contract will be in for July.
Yeah, we want to decide how we're going to, whether we're going to authorize the administration to approve this contract and to sign it or not. I'm a little uncomfortable with, this is kind of a big deal. I think the board should see the final document. Personally.
I agree.
I totally agree with that.
So, with that in mind, we will continue working through getting this document to the point where it can be signed off on July 18th.
Well, maybe we need to pull together a 10-minute meeting, a special meeting. You know?
That's what the bill would like to do. That would be awesome.
That would certainly be helpful because.
Not sure it's going to be 10 minutes though. Just saying.
Don't forget that 90% of the contract or more is what you voted on a year ago. It's only very slight things. And we are already in the process.
It's already at the attorney's office. They're reviewing it.
The major changes is relative to the money.
Which is favorable to the district.
I thought a year ago, the concept from a year ago was off the table because of the issues that came up. What did I miss on that?
It is off the
It
table.
was, but it's the same wording that you had approved.
Well,
except the money's different.
Except the money's
The
different.
wording in the agreement is different because of the different process that's happening.
Right, but the overall effect is the same.
Yeah. So to be clear,
Yeah.
the template of the agreement is exactly the same as what was signed for City School and Collins Pearly's net metering agreements. So the leases are in place that would allow Suncommon to build the canopies. But instead of group net metering directly to the canopies, we've swapped out the canopies for a much larger amount of electricity that's coming from these hydroelectric projects, because that allows us to do the offtake from the canopies with this community ownership model, which will make the whole thing work financially. But the structure of the deal is actually more favorable, and all we've done is substitute the word system owner for system licensee and substitute the solar project for a hydroelectric facility. So the template and the mechanics and the legal framework for the deal is the same, but the amount of electricity that we're covering and the discount that we're offering are more favorable with the hydroelectric contract than with the original canopy as envisioned.
I get all that, Mike, but I mean, it's a board responsibility, and I wouldn't want to shift it over to administration. Approving templates is never a good idea. So that's just where I'm at, and I'd rather call a special meeting for this one purpose, if times where we're going to be able to issue. That's how I feel. I don't know how you
What's
guys
your
feel.
deadline? What's your deadline through the summer?
There is no deadline. We just, now that we know, it's as fast as we can possibly get it together.
Yeah, I would do a special meeting.
I would be very cautious about things also.
I agree. I mean, we only saw this morning, so.
Right.
Okay, so that, we're in a pretty much agreement then? Okay. So now let's talk about the three options, because that's, I think you need to know that, right?
Yes.
Yes, it'd be great to get that out of the way.
So the numbers are in front of you.
I'll go first.
Go first.
I like number one. I like the $100,000 up front. I think if you were to look at that as just cost of money, $100,000 over 20 years. Probably do better than the $140,000 difference that you're seeing savings after 20 years. Plus, it's nice to get you never know what's going to come down the road. It's nice to get that extra money. You never know when you're going to need to put a roof on a building.
So the only caution I would say is that the $100,000 is contingent on the canopy. The 11% discount is not. So if we run into issues with a neighbor that holds up the permitting process forever and we never get the canopies built, and we've sunk all that money there, the $100,000 isn't going to be paid when you sign up for these agreements. It's still contingent on us being able to get the canopy project done. Whereas
So if the
discount
canopy
is not
project doesn't go forward, we would be getting just the 7% discount
That's correct.
for the 20 years.
So obviously the same is the same for option 2, right?
Yes.
Whereas with the option 3, the 11%, whether the canopies go or don't go, we get 11% each year. That's the,
So if no solar panels go up,
we still
we
get
still
this.
get the money?
Yes. Because it's not, the two things are parallel and they allow SunCommon to make this happen financially. But what we're doing is we're shifting the financial burden of this entire project onto the hydroelectric, not putting it solely on the shoulders of the canopies, which we can't make pencil financially.
That makes it more.
Yeah.
Makes it more fun.
So it's just it's about the risk of the capital for us.
Who wants to know what that is?
So what you just asked means this could go belly up and we still, the whole thing goes belly up or just the
canopy project?
That's for option 1 and option 2.
But that's what this is. Canopies.
But you just asked that secondary question and now I'm confused. I can't remember what you asked.
I asked if the canopies don't go up and we don't have solar panels.
You still get the discount, but the cash payments
So
you don't get the cash
are
payment.
not there.
You know, I'm not a genius when it comes to this kind of stuff at all. So obviously a solar panel is contingent on a canopy to be attached to it.
I would think so.
Yes, the solar panels are on the canopy. When we talk about canopy, we're talking about the solar panels.
Well, I mean, sometimes people put solar panels elsewhere.
Oh, yes,
on their
absolutely,
roof, or
yes.
there's these thingies on the side of the road on the interstate. What are those?
But
Canopy?
the-
Is that a canopy? No, it's just a.
So we could end up having no solar energy yet still getting the discount.
From the hydroelectric project, that's
Yeah.
correct. Absolutely. Yep.
That's the question you asked.
Yes.
So we're basically taking something that we would normally offer a smaller discount to somebody who is just buying the hydroelectric. And because you're giving us the ability to do this community canopy project, we're giving you a deeper discount or a combination of a discount and a cash payment option to incentivize you to do this whole thing so that we can get these canopy projects built and live up to our obligation, even though just by themselves the canopy projects wouldn't work. But if you sign up for this, the beauty of this, just the way that it works is that hydroelectric project needs an off-taker. We're going to sign some entity up because essentially with that, you just sign the agreement and you get utility savings. You don't need to have any infrastructure built because some entity that has a large enough electricity usage, like the district, is going to get those credits. We're going to sign somebody up for that in the next 6 months.
So I just want to be clear on something. You can't guarantee the canopies after we give you a contract.
So,
or you need the contract. I mean, you can't guarantee it's canopies before we sign that contract.
we can't even get started on the permitting with the state on the canopies until we have site control. We need an absolute ironclad. If we get them built, we have a deal with any site holder, especially a school. And we already have an agreement on the canopies, but unfortunately it's based on a financial model that, because of all those changes I described a couple of weeks ago, doesn't work anymore. The state sort of pulled the legs out financially from under these projects and made it too expensive to build the canopies by themselves. So we've used the hydroelectric savings to make it possible to still offer the district a financial benefit with canopies that on their own wouldn't make sense.
Well, I do. I wasn't here a year ago, so You're talking about a hydroelectric project. What hydroelectric project?
It's the Comtu Falls Hydroelectric Dam, which is owned by Gravity Renewables out of Colorado. And they've contracted with us, and we are licensing the management of that project. Has been on what's called it's a federal program called PERPA for many, many years. I think almost 40 years. And those federal contracts in that program, where the utilities have to buy the power from that hydroelectric dam, are phasing out. And so business that I have gotten into and some comment is pursuing is helping those dam operators that have system sizes that are small enough, like this one, that still, compared to some of our solar projects, are very big in terms of electricity generation. We're helping them to find off-takers to buy the credits from those. So what I'm doing is taking the savings that we can offer from an existing hydroelectric facility that's coming off of its federal contract and moving to being net metered, similar to the solar arrays. And using those savings that we can offer because of the price differential between the rates you're paying for power and the rates that are credited from the hydroelectric facility, to offer the district net savings and a financial benefit for doing this suite of renewable energy projects.
I hear what you're saying. I'm just wondering how reliable this is.
Yeah.
Is the research out there that it is?
Yeah. So the
one thing you're talking about is power broker. You're making electricity out there and you're putting it on an exchange, almost like a stock market. It's power brokering. That's how power is transmitted throughout the country.
So that's not exactly what we're doing. And to be clear, we're not a utility. We're not selling power. So power is being generated. Green Mountain Power administers that. Green Mountain Power has a requirement by the state for renewable energy projects under a certain size to offer the credits from those projects at a specific, guaranteed by the state for 20 years rate structure to off-takers that are current utility users on the same utility. So this project is connected to Green Mountain Power. You'll still get a Green Mountain Power bill, but it's just like if you're doing community solar, or for instance, you all are participating in a group net metering situation where you have a meter at BFA that's getting credits for the renewable production at SATEC.
Yeah.
So we're basically doing the exact same thing, where Green Mountain Power is applying credits from one production meter to another suite of meters. Over here, it's just a much bigger number, and so the savings are much greater.
Okay, I didn't realize that it was functioning as a local entity. Although Green Mountain Power is not in Canada.
Right. So like many things, there are multiple layers of the ownership, but at the end of the day, the state is going to give a certificate of public good, which is a 20-year commitment to the off-taker that they will get credits from this project. And so we're bringing all of those pieces together so that an off-taker that uses a lot of power, like Maple Run's schools, will get the credits from this specific facility. And that's on the back end financially allowing us to make the canopy projects pencil out.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me bring us back to point. Option 1, 2, and 3.
That's it.
Kevin?
I changed my mind since I've learned something tonight, because I was really thinking option 1 for the. It's scary that I agreed with you. That
Well, at least you got your senses to change your mind.
that I thought having some upfront payment would be good. However, given what I heard tonight, it's a little bit of a bird in the hand versus two in the bush. If we go with 3 or 2, no, 3, then we get the savings immediately upon signing the contract. And it's a greater amount.
Anybody else?
It's basically a net metering deal like we've done before.
Right.
But we would get 3 if the canopies don't work out. It would go automatically to 3.
No, we don't.
No, it would stay, because if that happens, Suncommon's going to be out a significant amount of money and have nothing to show for it. So that's why there's the differential, is that this permitting of these canopies, I kid you not, is going to be something like $50,000 for each one of them on us. And we're going to take all that risk, but we need to know that at the end of that year of work and strife and dealing with the state regulators to get these to work, that we're going to have the projects all viable at the end.
So I think at the end of the day, choices between 1 and 3 is whether we take the risk on the canopies or whether we let Uncommon take the risk. Canopies go up, whoever took the risk is going to be better off. If they don't, the opposite.
And to be clear, you're not taking the risk. There's no upfront costs on this to the district, so you're not taking
the risk is money loss.
Right.
Yeah,
Potential money
loss. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I'm not asking the districts in any of these models to put any capital into these projects.
Okay, let's narrow it down.
If the canopies don't go up, we're still saving 11%.
You'll still save 7%.
If we pick number 3.
Right.
Can we rule out number 2?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 1 and 3.
I said,
Who wants 3? Raise hands. You're not,
Just to
I'm
point
guessing
out,
you're
I
gonna-
can't vote.
Right.
So, Martha, what did you recommend? She did last week.
Reese? Hilda, where you at?
I'm not anywhere yet.
Okay. Steve, you said 3? Mike, you said 3?
no, 1.
1, 2, 3. I'll change to 3, 4. Valerie, where you
No,
at?
I'll go with 3.
Okay, 1's. Mike is 1. Hilda's not anything.
What about Al?
Al, are you there?
Yeah, still here.
What do you think? Option 1 or 3?
Well, there were a lot of promises last time with Collins Burley. Different situation. Some comments was going to pay the, so as far as I'm concerned, I think we ought to go cautiously into that great divide.
Right, so that would, are you saying you want to go with option 3 then?
Yeah, wait till we get the information that you requested.
We're not signing anything tonight.
Yeah, no, this isn't, we're not signing anything, but this is telling them which option we want to pursue.
So that they can write up the documents to match.
Right. So whatever we tell them, that's what they're going to draft their documents around. So we have our choice is to get a guaranteed 11%
For 20 years.
for 20 years, or to get a guaranteed 7%, and if the canopies go up, there's an additional $100,000 up front. There's a little bit of risk taking the 7%. The 11% is
I would predict
guaranteed.
I guess over 20 years we'll be finding ways to use less power. In general. Once we replace lighting.
Now the figures that they use, I think, the percent. Not sure that those are accurate. They're guesses.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, they are. It's projections.
Right, it's, yeah.
No question. But the 11% is solid.
And the utility escalator, Al, is actually a whole percentage point less than what we've seen in utility rate escalation historically. So if I took the 2% out and I popped 3% in, option 3 would look even better. So I actually think that if you went with option 3, the district would actually save more money over time, because I don't think power is actually going to stay as flat for the long haul as it has, given what's going on with oil and natural gas. But I try to be conservative in the estimates that I project for you. So if I put my taxpayer hat on and I say, geez, you guys can save $25,000 a year right now, that's how I look at the option 3.
That's the safest. I can change the 3, but I'm trying to figure out the difference between the first year is a big difference in the numbers.
Right. Because that's where you get the 100,000, assuming the canopies go up.
Jim, just to clarify the word risk here, when we're talking risk, we're only, if I'm understanding this correctly, we're only talking about the risk of the incentive, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's either the risk of getting the big incentive
risk of
for
money lost,
1, the middle incentive for 2, or the
risk
11%
of
for
loss
3.
in savings.
That's
Yeah.
right. Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
It's,
So-
I could have saved more.
Yeah.
Right.
We could have
So
saved more.
because
That's the risk.
the word
Yeah.
risk is a little,
Yeah.
it almost
Yeah.
makes it look like we're shelling out something.
Well,
right?
Well, if
but
we
it is
pick
a little
up,
bit of a gamble.
if we pick option 1, it is a risk, and because if they can't do the canopies, we're stuck at 7%.
Correct.
And not getting the $100,000.
Right.
And we already know there was like a canopy issue in the past. Not that I understood what that all meant, but does that play into the potential for not having canopy, or are you thinking it's more, the issue could be more a neighbor who would just start a, injunction against the whole thing or something?
Yeah, so as the regulatory framework changed last year, doing canopy projects, there's a lot more opportunity for local, both abutters and municipality to weigh in on the permitting process for these projects. When it was originally envisioned by the legislature, I think that they wanted the canopy projects to get a lot of preferential treatment, kind of like solar on the roof does. But when it shook out last year, much to our surprise, they decided to put the canopies through a process that almost looks like an Act 250 process before the Public Utility Commission. And so those are a little fraught. So we want these projects to happen. We believe for our mission that we need to be covering parking lots and solar.
So it's
But
almost
it's a
like
financial
that
risk for
window
us.
is green in my view kind of thing?
Yeah.
That
Yes.
concept?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over a paved parking lot on a facility, it's a little bit of a different thing, but yes, it is kind of it is falling into that. so there is the risk that we can't get a permit.
I think the prudent thing, I think option 3 is the prudent choice, and because we are talking about taxpayer money.
Right. We have that.
Well,
So that's a
Yeah.
I've changed option 3 because I just ran the numbers over the year. These, I assume, are dollar amounts that you projected over 20 years. We come out higher than $100,000, $140,000 in savings. So, and then you comparing it, maybe I got to compare something else, but I think 3 is probably,
interest on it.
yeah.
But the prudent thing is the sure thing.
I think it's our responsibility.
Right. It is, you're right. Since there's no layout of money, then the prudent thing is the sure thing. I agree with
That's a
that.
higher percentage.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that? Just a direction.
Just to make sure it's clear.
Seems
We'll make
like-
a motion to
Because we know
produce-
how things sometimes are clear, even if they're right.
Well, I don't know how it could be worded, but I'll make a motion that we agree to option 3. in
Which is the
Suncommon,
11% discount.
which is the 11% discount
With
with Suncommon, and that's it.
Second. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion?
Second.
Thank you, Al. Jack, I assume you're going to abstain?
Correct.
All right, so I'm going to pull a roll call. Al, how do you vote? Al?
Zach?
How do you vote, Al?
Yay.
Thank you. Nilda?
Yay.
Steve?
Yeah.
Sally?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Aye.
Has to be different.
Chair votes aye. And Jack, for the record.
I would say recuse.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Recusal.
Very good. Motion approved 701.
So Mike and I will work on the document itself. Once we get it reviewed by both attorneys, theirs and ours, and we agree to what it looks like, we'll look at calling a special meeting.
Yeah, so we know,
Great. Work.
we're gonna have a 10-minute hourglass.
10-minute window, 10-minute meeting at 6:45 in the morning.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
You all
Thanks,
have
Mike. Thanks a lot.
with this. We'll work quickly.
Okay, brings us to new business. 9As, cafeteria plan resolution.
Let's see. So this should be fairly quick and straightforward.
That's been working out tonight.
So, he said something.
You said something.
Sorry, Al?
I said, hey.
When I do that, I place, let me just get this right for 1 second.
Make the motion.
Oh,
I didn't get what he said.
The Maple Run Unified School District HR Cafeteria Plan for adoption. And have business authorized to sign the documents of the resolution. Hereby printed on the attachments.
Okay. All right, thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
Thank you. We have a second.
Resolution? Yeah. Resolution.
Yeah, resolutions. Yes. So basically, this has to deal with the, it's called the Section 125 Cafeteria Plan, which is basically it's a federal document that covers the program that we offer our employees, our health insurance. It covers the cash and lieu language. It covers our HRA plan that we have with the employees. And these documents basically just spell out what our plans are and how they're to be managed. And I just need a board resolution to adopt these plans as presented.
There's no decisions that are needed.
No, there's no decisions. All the decisions were made through negotiations
Right.
and that contract.
Any questions, any discussion? All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 8-0. Approved. And let's go to item 9B, which is the school food service management contract.
And that should say food service management contracts, because there are 4 contracts. And I am making a recommendation to approve the authorization to renew the 4 contracts for the 3rd renewal process. Make that motion and then I'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mike.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay. So this is the 3rd renewal we can do on the contracts that are in place currently. There is no adjustment to the management fee or the administrative fee. So those are the actual costs that we have to running these programs. I have in front of you some numbers. I've given you FY18 numbers, although they're not final because we don't have the June information yet. But all but possibly BFA are going to end up with a fairly decent surplus for this past year. BFA, it looks like it's going to be really close. It's either going to be coming in at negligible, or if it's a deficit, that deficit payment comes out of the management fee paid to Underwood Catering or the Abbey Group, so it doesn't come from the school district. I just wanted to also point out that the SACS contract appears to be a larger cost. But I wanted to make sure everybody was aware that under the SATEC contract, they also manage the fresh fruits and vegetable snack program, which is offered at the city school for every day that the students are in school, the summer feeding program, and the supper program that's at the city school.
Is that
And I-
throughout the school year?
Pardon?
Throughout the school year.
The supper program is throughout the school year. The summer feeding program it's managed through the city school contract, but the summer feeding program, actually we feed students out of 11 sites. Fairfield School is one of them, city school, town school, BFA, Barlow Street, City Hall, Community Action, Blooming Mines. There's 11 sites throughout basically the county that are managed through that contract. And so I just kind of threw in at the bottom some meal counts as to the number of meals that are served in FY17 through our 4 contracts and through our 4 school buildings, which were pretty impressive when I looked at them.
And those 11 sites, it's
Yes.
all over Franklin County?
Well, we have specific sites that we have set up, because we have to manage them.
I think Fairfield.
Are they all within our?
Fairfield is one of them because you have your summer school program.
Oh, that's
these-
what that means.
Right, so Fairfield School is running a summer school program, and because the students that are attending, the percentage of free and reduced students that are attending that summer school program are over 50%. We can feed those students for free, breakfast and lunch. And so that's part of one of the sites that I'm talking about.
And is that why all students at city school get free breakfast?
All students at city school get free lunch. All students in all our schools get free breakfast. But the lunch is free for city school because they actually qualify for a program called Community Eligibility Program, where you're directly certified students, which is information you get from outside sources like the SNAP program and those areas. Directly certify that 40% of your students or more are getting services elsewhere. City school right now is the only school that qualifies for that. That's why city school, during the school year, all the students get free lunch. But in the rest of the schools, you still have the opportunity to fill out the applications for the free and or reduced price.
When you say getting services elsewhere?
They're like human services type services,
Squares.
yeah, 3
Kids
squares.
that are enrolled in Head Start or parents might be enrolled in other
Right.
social.
If they're in foster
Social
care,
services, foster care.
there's there's a list of.
So for that, does that funding come from the state or from our?
No, the funding for those free meals comes from the state and federal government. And the every meal that is served to the students throughout the school year, there is reimbursement that comes from both federal and state. It just depends on how much reimbursement you get. Whereas city school, because of their qualification, they get a higher reimbursement rate, and that's why they can do it at no cost for the students. They basically pay for the cost of the meals through the federal government mostly. So I didn't know if anybody had any questions. I verified with the administration in each of the schools that they are happy and satisfied with the contract.
Is this the last year?
No, there's one more year we can renew for one more year. You have the original contract, which is the first, you have the original contract, then you can take that original contract and renew it for up to 4 years.
Okay.
This is our 3rd renewal process. So we could renew it next year if we wanted. Into that.
That makes sense.
If it makes
Keep it
sense,
at
right.
night.
And it's something that has to be done annually. We can't say it's an automatic renewal next year.
Sure.
It has to come to the board every year.
And there's a set amount that increases when you renew. How does that work?
Right now, because we're just renewing it, the amount can't change. If we were to change the administrative, or if the contractor wanted to change the administrative fee or the management fee, we would have to put it back out to bid. So after the 4th year, you have to go out to bid.
There's no escalator in there?
No,
So
not
we're
ours.
getting the same price next year that we got 2 years ago?
Yep.
Okay.
That's why a lot of times it makes sense to just renew.
I would think so. Because I don't think food's going down. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 8-0.
Thank you.
9C, renewal of Valley Crossroads lease, attachment 9C.
Make a motion to renew the lease.
I move for approval of the lease at Valley Crossroads for the first year.
Thank you, Al. So Kevin, do you want to speak to this at all?
I think Martha will do it.
I can. So, I believe it's the L&A program that is up at the Valley Crossroads.
It's phlebotomy and other medical.
Okay, so there's some programming that we have that we're renting space at the Valley Crossroads for adult ed, tech ed, some of those programs. And so we're just looking to continue using that space for next year, although it appears that next year may be our final year because Valley Crossroads is being sold to Northwestern Medical Center, the building. And if we get this lease approved and in place, we are guaranteed to have the place at least for the 1 year, even though the hospital may buy it in the interim. But it's at the same rate that we're paying currently.
And that rate is?
It's $1,100 per month.
And we started planning for moving in if we have to.
I would
we
say.
Just wait for the hospital to decide?
Well, I would assume that probably within the next 6 or 8 months, we would know what the plan is for the building. And we would be probably either in negotiation with the hospital to renew the contract, the lease, or we'd be looking for either other placements or.
So they're definitely mine.
Pardon?
They're definitely mine.
Yes.
Okay.
As far as my understanding, but I don't know that for a fact. That's what I've heard.
Has this lease gone through legal review?
Yeah, it's the
all good to
same
go?
lease we've had, yes.
How long have you had this lease there? How many years?
We've been up here for what?
It said 2012. didn't it?
5, 6.
I think it said 2012.
Any other questions?
It's just, it's Charbonneau, Louis, and Jack Charbonneau.
All right. We have a motion, we have a second. No further discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Approved 8-0.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item D, municipal school usage. This got spurred by a memo, which is 9D, I believe, from Amanda to Kevin and I. You guys can read it. It would appear that the Fairfield Select Board would like an agreement in writing to use Fairfield School Gym for not only town meeting, but for emergency need, Red Cross, Vermont Emergency Management. I put this on,
already in
I
place.
put this on the agenda for discussion tonight, not for action. So let's discuss it.
Is it like a memo of understanding they want?
I think they want a contract, to be honest with you. We've also attached our policy E20, which is community use of school facilities, which I think probably covers exactly what they're
Seemed like
looking
it.
for. So I'm not sure that it's in the district's best interest to cut a special contract with any of our municipalities.
Could
because-
create a separate policy for municipalities using facilities and make it blanket.
To what end?
Say if they need the facility, they have first shot at it.
I think they do anyway. Well, that's the administration to also chime in if they.
Aren't there memos of understanding? don't know how to pluralize that, memos of understanding now with schools related to emergency preparedness and having.
Well,
them
certainly with Red Cross and things like that, you
alternate
have to have that as part of being a certified Red Cross shelter.
Right, but also for emergency management, usually you have to have an alternative
Yes,
site
we have
to
those.
be able,
What Fairfield's asking for, I think, is a bit more, but certainly we have those.
Have there been any issues at Collins Curley with election day and?
Sometimes it creates little conflicts, but we work around them, and I can't imagine a circumstance where we said no, that
Right.
there's no written agreement.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is to go further with what Dave said. Every school has times where the municipality wants the use of their facility. To my knowledge, historically, there's never been an issue. City school does it all the time, I know, with rec program and with other things, and it's a communication issue.
What's
Dave?
are there fees?
I'd like to say the potential does exist, because we've never done that. If, for example, our school is required to do testing on a certain day with large numbers of people, and they have it at Collins Curley because that's the only place they can have it. And if the town all of a sudden decided that they want to have a special election that day, we would have the right, and probably would under that circumstance, tell them, no, I'm sorry, we can't, because we can't move that date.
Right,
It's a date
yeah.
that's actually necessary. So I can see the possibility, but
But even special
two
elections have
reasonable
to be
parties I
warned.
would think would be able to.
They have to be at the same
Right.
place.
Special elections also have to be warned 40 days in advance, so I'm assuming that, you know, with that much of a lead time, it's not like something can't be worked out.
Yeah, and town
It's a-
meeting day, you know it's there.
It's a
Yeah,
if there's a
so you've got that
revote,
locked
it's
down.
gotta go to the same place.
Right, exactly what I'm saying though. You still have to warn that 30 to 40 days in advance, so I'm sure that there
And there's
can be
flexibility.
some, right,
There's flexibility
on the day.
Yeah. Town meeting day, we know when that is.
Right.
We know that the community gets to school on that day.
Yep.
I use the pool as an example.
Right.
If we were to have an agreement with the town that said they can use it pretty much whenever they want, and something came up like that circumstance, and then one day when we absolutely had to have it, that could create a conflict. So I can understand your reluctance to enter an agreement with the municipality that would give them authority maybe beyond what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, and I'm also just, leery of taking, what's the word I'm looking for, I don't know, this authority away from future boards on the road. You never know how things are gonna change.
The existing facility policy allows for the use for civic forums and community centers, so that is in the policy. It does give the building administration the right to deny an application if it's going to be a substantial disruption to their school programs. And that's where it's a policy of the board.
Well, I think we have to maintain that.
Yeah.
I mean, first and foremost, it's a school.
I mean, obviously, if there's an emergency and there's flooding or whatever, the school is probably not going to be in session
Of
anyway.
course, right.
So then the school would be available.
Or even if the school was in session.
Right, that kind of
You would make it
situation.
work because you're a community member, and the principal would say, of course, like what happened up in Missisquoi last year, this winter.
Right, yeah, with flooding. Yeah.
And they said, of course, bring the people in, because that's what you do.
Right.
Do you know, has the select board seen the policy?
No,
for
they haven't.
facilities?
I don't think they have.
That's a good question. We were thinking of that too. We should send them.
Yeah, they need
I
to see
did
it.
provide that. to Charlie Thomas. I provided him
Oh,
you did?
a week ago. We had a conversation about this. I provided him the policy and then some of the procedures at Fairfield, and just basically explained to him that the only difference between the past and now is that whereas in the past someone could walk up to the principal and say, hey, can we use the gym for a fireman's ball on Friday night, and the principal would say, yeah, go for it. Well, now it's a piece of paper where he puts his name on it.
That was since the 11th.
I think it was immediately after the last select board meeting that he and I talked, so he has a little paperwork to bring. It's just I don't know that they've met yet.
No, they don't. They don't meet till the 25th.
So how do you want to answer?
I think we answer by saying we already have a district policy in place, and we show that to them, and we think that covers all your concerns.
And a commitment to the community.
Yeah.
I think that's the important part.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it'll be important that that they see the policy and they have maybe an opportunity to reflect on it if they have concerns.
It was the designated town hall also for the town.
And it's there's no reason I can't still.
Okay. And you want to retain the name? Is that the other thing?
We're not changing the name.
I'm sorry?
We're not changing the name.
They're just saying they want to retain the name. That's all.
What, Veterans Hall? Yeah, there's no reason. I mean, it's
Oh,
posted right
I
above the
agree.
door.
They seem to think that we might
change the name.
There's a letter, so they're pointing out.
I wasn't at that select board meeting, so I can't speak to any conversation.
I absolutely see no reason why we would change the name.
I refer to it as that in mailings and kind of events. I call it the Veterans Hall.
I don't see anything in there that says they're afraid we're going to change the name.
I remember reading something that said it was called Veterans Hall because in '64 when they built the building, it was initially intended to be a public use space as well as, like I think that was maybe in another message that we had seen earlier or something, that certainly I have no intention of changing the name.
I honestly think this is a non-issue because they can use this pretty much anytime they want, just like they always have, because our policy allows for it. But the principal has to have the authority to control their building. So they have to have the same.
How was that different than before? I mean, the principal probably always had the authority.
I think it just feels a little bit foreign.
It feels very foreign.
And I
speak
don't.
to someone from Fairfield.
Yeah,
it's
feels
fear of losing all control. It's fear of the building shutting down.
Yep. And that's not. That's nobody's intent. Certainly not mine.
Somebody's intent right now. You got to look down the road. You got different players. You know, we've seen board members
It
on.
was no different before, Mike.
I've seen board members with agendas and so on over the years, and that shouldn't have been on boards.
Okay, I'm going to go the other side. I've seen selectmen with agendas too.
Actually,
There could be other selectmen down the road.
Right. So if you think the community policy in the community is the same as saying a municipality, if that's what it says, then I think you have a point.
I think it's the same relationship we have with the town using Collins Pearly.
Civic forums and community centers.
I think the difference is, this is very different for Fairfield. It's not so different for town in BFA. It's a very different.
Well, what is different? Because the same thing happened. It used to be the town school board, and now it's Maple Run for the town.
Well, certainly for BFA, Collins Pearly was always part of, I'm going to say BFA. Administered differently, but very different relationship.
mean, Collins Pearly.
But we're
has-
talking about the town, the St. Albans
Yeah.
town.
Yeah,
And-
we vote at Collins Pearly now. We used to vote down in the town hall. So,
It's definitely, as someone from Fairfield, I think it feels like a different relationship. And I'm not saying it's bad or good, I'm just saying it feels like a different relationship. We're the little guys in this much bigger system now. I think that's what a lot of the townspeople feel. Losing control over their school and their budget and the whole nine yards.
And I think it's gonna be a few years.
Maybe.
To get over it.
Yeah.
I think you're right. But I think our policy covers what
Yeah, so,
the select board is looking for, so let's let them look at it.
yeah.
Let them chew on it. We'll take it from there.
Because this policy itself is not a whole lot different than what Fairfield's community uses school facility policy was.
Right.
Fairfield had an actual written agreement with the town years ago.
But for the policy, this policy is almost identical.
Yeah, I understand, because all our policies were, that's because we made them that way, but it was different, 10 years ago. They had weddings in that hall and so on. So it was,
And weddings in all of our schools, that's
not if you want to serve alcohol.
Not students, right?
Yeah.
not student.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so
Little child.
fine, just, let them look at the policy.
Yeah, I think they need to see the policy.
Yeah, let them take a look at it, and like Jeff said, they should know that we're committed to all our municipalities and all our communities. And we know they need the building, and we want them to use it.
So,
do we want to touch it all on the common school, since that was part of the,
it's part of the letter.
I think just for information, because I didn't realize this. First of all, I didn't realize that the city owned the common, or that the town owned the common school, and that we were,
And the fields.
and that we were renting it. And so what exactly are we leasing?
Okay, so the town has, the school and town have property. The town lets the school use the fields for sports.
Okay, when you
We
say,
rent the fields that are behind the common
Ball
school.
fields.
Like soccer.
Soccer.
That's right.
So Fairfield, we re-surveyed and we were hoping to find room for another field so we could host more than one team. But they don't have been resistant to helping us take care of it in the summer. They threatened to put livestock out there a couple of years ago and then clean it up for the school. So we're paying for maintenance of that field that people use all summer. So that was one issue, but that was just in exchange for getting to use the field. Okay, all right. We pay $1 a year for the common school. There's certain stuff we fix. I don't know how those decisions are made, Sean. But we put in a boiler.
We paid for half of the boiler. The school did
You
just
did
paid for
another.
half
You
of
did
it.
another boiler. I was thinking the last one.
The boiler in the common school went out this winter. We paid half and the town paid half.
Okay. So they've been okay about that, and they've been okay about the exterior of the building. But they just want to know what we want to do with it in the long run, because I don't think they know what to do with it.
so is the feeling that $1 a year is going to change?
No.
Yes. They've stated they're going to be increasing the rent. But
To
I
who?
think, I'm sorry,
So you got a letter or something?
to Sean,
I
right?
didn't think it was both of them. I mean, you've heard it as well.
I've heard it through Amanda, that, and through Charlie, that at the next time the lease is up, that they'll be increasing the rent, which is, I think, where that question was asked. I think part of the issue with us, with the board and the administration making a decision is we need to know a little bit, we need to know what they're increasing the rent to. They haven't stated it.
Having seen that common school, I think we're going to need to take a really hard look at that.
The last 3 iterations of building projects have shown it was cheaper, not by much in some cases, but it was cheaper to build the extra classrooms we need in the school and fix up a building that we don't know. We're talking an elevator in that building, and it's not ADA accessible. And right now, you got a fire in there, I think you have a problem.
I would say that we would be getting conversations on alternative spaces in order not to have to use the common school. We've just started those conversations. We're not ready to talk about it up to this point, but we are looking at alternatives.
So who's in on that conversation?
Right now, it's just administration. Because we have a school that's not up to code. And we're concerned about that. If we have one handicapped student who wants to play in band, there goes the band program.
So if they're gonna charge us any significant rent for that school, now it feels different for us.
Well, I would argue that they would make accommodations, but I mean, the other thing is when you think about, calculating the teachable time at Fairfield School, when you're, especially in the middle of the winter, when you're having to talk about the transitional time, getting the kids bundled up, walking them down to, common school, walking them back.
It's a valid point.
Yeah, and there's also more bathroom accidents down there because the bathrooms look like dungeons. So we thought about building a first floor bathroom one year just to do that, solve that problem. But I've been through the building. It's not historical. The historical people came out.
It's not?
It's not. They changed the roof line when they built the chimney. And Julie Walcott was part of that. And so it doesn't qualify for funds, but we don't own it anyway. So it's a building that I don't know is the best place to put kids.
Okay, so if there's no action on, well, maybe there is an action on the, first off, we're gonna, on the usage of the school, we're gonna allow the select board to review our policy and let them know that we feel that that's sufficient.
I know that Charlie felt better after he saw it and talked to me about it.
Okay.
He felt a lot better.
And then if they have any issues, we can have a discussion and put videos to the test. And then as far as the common school, we're just gonna have to sit and wait on that. See what our options are when the time comes.
But we'd like to continue talking amongst ourselves about options.
We have to get our options open because, let's face it, we can't stay there forever.
Every inspector who's come out has avoided the common school because of the roof.
Okay. Fair enough. Can we move off this? Okay, item E is staff issues. We have two staff issues. One is a contract that's going to require approval, and the other is a resignation that the board is going to have to decide whether or not we're going to accept. I think both of them probably could go into an evaluation, or so they probably should go into executive session.
Okay.
So we need to have a finding on that.
I'll make a motion to find that we should move those two, E1 and E2, into executive session.
Thank you, Mike. Second, anyone?
Second that.
Jack. Okay, any discussion on that? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 0. Those go to executive session. We have warrants for approval.
Motion to approve the warrants.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Thank you, Sally. Any discussion on the motions? Still spending a lot for healthcare?
Yep.
All right. Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 8-0. Administrators report.
Over here, we're freezing to death over there from the air conditioning. My report is attached. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I have nothing further to add.
Excellent.
Good report.
Nice report.
I did look at it. Very nice. I have no questions. Anybody else? Principals. Leanne, anything else?
No.
Lisa? Dave? Stacy?
Our custodians are going on a field trip in a few hours tomorrow morning.
Custodians are going on a field
Yes,
trip?
they are all going, well, they're not going on a field trip, they're
Who's
going
chaperone?
to a plant operation and maintenance conference. Together, they're all getting in the van and going down to learn about asbestos, school fire safety, indoor air quality and green cleaning, among the many things that they're going to learn about. But they're all going down in the school van.
That's really,
It's the first time they've ever been able to go somewhere together and learn. It's in White River.
is it overnight?
It is a 2-day conference. They're just going for tomorrow. I need them back to get ready for conscious discipline.
That's really a great idea.
Yeah, they're somewhat excited about going together.
Who's chaperoning?
Robin. They've decided who's car sick and who has to sit in front, who has to sit in the way back. It's actually, I think it's going to be great for them. It'll be a great bonding experience. And they're going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
I think the first part is about school safety, and I think Gary Taylor's there, one of the speakers at their conference.
Do you think any of them would be comfortable sharing what
They might when they come back.
with the board?
Yeah, they may. All I can do is ask.
Okay.
But it's new and different for them, so I thought I'd bring it up.
That is good. Sean?
So at the end of my first year, I just want to thank the board for their support of Fairfield School. We have been major beneficiaries of just a lot of support, a lot of projects that needed completion that you all have stood behind us for, that we would not have been able to complete on our own without this board, without this group. So I am very grateful for everything that you have done. So thank you.
Well, I think the board is very grateful for the way you stepped in and took over and certainly turned some lemon into lemonade.
And my sense is the teachers are also great.
For sure.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Is that all the principals? You get everybody?
Michelle?
Michelle?
So what's right?
Future meeting agenda items. Custodian.
Fewer agenda items. Fewer. Well, it's going to be a month away, so.
Yeah. Aside from our special 10-minute meeting, 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
It's going to be 4 weeks before we come back together.
You're going to put
There'll
that
be a
into your
lot.
superintendent handbook.
Yes. Who will Mona be doing that?
Yep.
I will probably do
I
that.
think probably Sean, I don't want to throw that on the
Mona, welcome. Here.
We can introduce her while we're doing it.
Yes,
Right, we're so glad you showed up.
Yeah.
You still have 18 days to get ready. Come on.
Okay. You want to talk about that next meeting? Okay. That's some, I would like to weigh in on that. and weigh in some thoughts. Okay.
Where is that? That's
That brings us to item 12, which is executive session. So I look for a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of resignation and staff contract. And I would like to invite the superintendent, Kathy, Stacy. Yeah.
Do you want to be here for?
Just was
Yes.
She was
For
just
the
asking, do
resignation.
I
He's
have to
invited.
stay for that?
He's
Love
invited.
you.
Kathy would like
Jones
me to
not
stay
here.
as well. It's okay with you. Kathy would like
Yeah,
me
you
to
did.
stay as well.
Very.
Okay.
Dave,
No.
Did anyone make a
Any
motion?
questions?
No, I'm just still looking for it.
Okay,
Would you like to?
sure, when you're ready.
Thank you, Sally. Second? Wait, thanks. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? We're in executive session.